Now, what does a job owner mean? A job owner is a person who is stuck in this trap of self-employment. And this trap of self-employment, like the word suggests, is giving employment to yourself. Now, people ask me, what's wrong with giving employment to yourself? I say that's the worst thing you can do. Because the truth is this, when you give employment to yourself, you don't pay yourself consistently. Yes? And the truth is that you live this journey of a superhero in your own head because you are like the sincere victim of mankind pursuing your passion, but the world is not good enough to support you with profitability. And I believe that most entrepreneurs accept this as a way of life. They accept this as the reality. Because think about it. Every book, every magazine, every YouTube video you watch, every TED talk you see, talks to you about struggles and says that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But like Navjot Singh Sidhu says, the light at the end of the tunnel could be one of a coming train. And we forget to see that. Okay? Now, what we need to understand is this, that the fact that you're in this situation of self-employment where you don't have time, you don't have money, your business is not growing, but you're employing yourself, this can be quite deceiving. And I lived through this deception for the longest time before I made a decision. I made a decision of re-education. I went across India and I interviewed 300 business leaders from across sectors to learn two things. What is the psychology of building a successful business? What are the systems of building a successful business? And while I was in debt, I went all across Asia and I invested in my re-education, learning from some of the best teachers and trainers in the world. I invested 40,67,000 rupees in my re-education while I was in debt. And everybody around me was telling me, are you crazy? And I used to say, I'm not crazy, are you crazy? Here we are taking education loans, going through education that does not prepare us to be entrepreneurs. But when we are investing in our own education, learning from people who've been there and done that, how is that qualified to be crazy? And this journey of 16 months of re-education transformed my life fully. And I realized that there were some classic mistakes I was making which most self-employed people make. The first mistake that I was making was hopeful optimism. Now let me tell you this. I probably am contradicting every speaker, trainer, coach, self-help guru on this planet by saying hopeful optimism is actually poison. Because it makes you feel that someday, somehow, miraculously, something will become fine and life will change. The truth is, life doesn't change unless you make decisions. And I see a lot of people avoid decision-making in tough times, and they go with the flow, or probably meet a few astrologers to ask them how their future is going to turn out. Now, you know when a person's meeting an astrologer based on the number of rings they are wearing in their hand. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs, their hands are filled with rings for stones to control planets that are way, way far away to dictate their destiny. Now, I want you to understand this. This hopeful optimism is the first mistake that most people make, which makes them play small and accept things as the way they are. Now, when I started studying business from these gurus and leaders that I was meeting, I realized that a business is like a wheel and it has 7 functions. It has marketing, sales, operations, R&D, HR, accounts, management. No matter whether you're a solopreneur or you are a micro enterprise or a large corporation, you have these 7 functions which are like the spokes of a wheel. And if these spokes of the wheel are broken, which means you're not doing these activities consistently, your wheel keeps losing balance. So I started asking myself, why do entrepreneurs face this challenge of balancing between all these things? And the answer was very simple. It is because in most small and medium businesses, everything is dependent on the entrepreneur. The owner is like the superhero. He is there doing things at a firefighting pace. Now, please keep that word in your mind, firefighting. No dictionary on this planet says that if you are a firefighter, you're going to achieve growth. Firefighting is a game for survival. Therefore, it kills action consistency. I started seeing a lot of entrepreneurs are focusing their time only on issues which are burning in their business. They're not really building their business. They're actually playing this game of month-to-month survival. And they believe that everything is dependent on them. Therefore, nothing can work consistently. It works sequentially. I do marketing for some time, generate some leads. I do sales for some time, generate some customers. Then I get busy with operations. So what happens to marketing and sales when I'm doing operations? Well, it comes to a standstill. Now, if you realize that when things happen sequentially in a business, things don't produce results. And that's why the results and efficiency of most small and medium entrepreneurs is extremely low. I started seeing this and I started questioning myself, what is it that is making entrepreneurs do this? And that's when I realized the second mistake, which I also had made for quite some time. the mistake that if being the best in your team. Now, I always say this, if you're the best on your team, that's the worst for your business. And a lot of small and medium entrepreneurs take pride in being the best in their team. Like they say, I'm the best salesperson, I'm the best marketing person, I'm the best product person, and they end up doing everything. Now, if you're the best, that's the worst for your business because you can't do everything simultaneously, and you will naturally focus on the crying baby only, which makes sure that you're stuck in that survival game. Now, this mistake is a cardinal sin in business. And then as I was interviewing more and more business leaders, I started getting more and more convinced that the best thing for a business is if the entrepreneur is not involved. Now, this is very different from the traditional notion that you got to be fully involved in your business. And the entrepreneur, if the entrepreneur is not involved, the entrepreneur needs a team. But I saw another mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs were making. They were making the mistake of not hiring because they looked at hiring as a cost. But I figured it out by interviewing these 300 business leaders, that if you think hiring is a cost, not hiring is costlier because you get sucked into the business and you're playing this game for survival. And even better, I see some entrepreneurs who go out there looking for cheap talent. Now, if you understand this word cheap talent is contradictory. There's nothing called cheap and talent. And the moment you hire cheap talent, you yourself subconsciously convince yourself that you cannot expect results from this person. So you end up paying salaries and doing the work by yourself. And I qualify this for a national award. Because think about it. No university pays you a salary and teaches you except for entrepreneurs. Okay? So the truth is this, that as entrepreneurs, we need to step out. We need to step back. And then from there, avoid this massive big mistake, which is focusing on the customer. Now, we've been taught this. Customer is king. I say that's a lie. If you don't believe me, sit in a negotiation meeting with a customer, you will realize they have no traits of a king. Okay? That's the truth. Now, we've been taught this again and again. Customer is king, customer is king. So I see a lot of small and medium entrepreneurs. The moment they give their customer gives them a call saying, come, I need to meet you. And if they have a team meeting scheduled, most small and medium entrepreneurs would cancel out on that team meeting and run to the customer because they are customer focused. And I always say this, if you're customer focused, you're losing out on building a business. You're just landing yourself in the trap of self-employment. Now, some entrepreneurs argue, but my money comes from my customer. That's not the truth. Your wealth comes from your team. A successful entrepreneur is more focused inside rather than outside. A successful entrepreneur is more focused on building teams, building systems, building strategies, rather than running behind the customer. Because think about it, if you're running behind the customer, then technically the customer has hired you without paying you a fixed income. And most of the times you are like a free advisor to the customer because your customer treats you like Google. They just want information. They don't want to give you a check and create transformation in your life. So the truth is this, that any successful business owner has different behaviors in comparison to business owners who are struggling and playing this game for month-to-month survival. And the big difference is successful business owners are focusing on building teams, building systems, building strategies, rather than personally running behind the customer. Now, as much as I like to say this again and again to entrepreneurs, I know entrepreneurs play this game of fear. Because for them, month-to-month survival becomes a question. And this is where it brings me to the larger question. Why did you choose entrepreneurship? You did not choose entrepreneurship as a path with a big goal and a big vision saying, I want to make sure I pay my salaries on time. I want to make sure that I pay my EMI or my credit card bills on time. That's not the big vision you started with. You started your venture as an entrepreneur with a big vision of creating a difference, of adding value to a large market, of creating jobs, and creating wealth for yourself and your team members and your customers. And if you're deviating from this vision and getting stuck in the month-to-month trap, there's something that you've not done right. And that something that you've not done right is you've not focused on building teams, systems, and strategies, which can make sure that the business works without you. But entrepreneurs that play the game till it rains, build teams, build systems, build strategies to build a scalable enterprise, these are the ones who actually go ahead and create impact on this universe, on this planet, and on this nation. Thank you so much. This is Rajiv Talreja signing off.